EduTrainment Workshops, the insurance industry's leading education and training platform, presents Life Insurance, the entry-level series, the products, the underwriting, and the planning applications to position your practice as the premier provider of insurance products in your community. Get on board, get on track, get to where you're going. And now, your EduTrainer National Insurance columnist, Steve Savant.
Well, welcome everyone to our EduTrainment Workshops. I'm Steve Savant, your EduTrainer and coach. And today we're in our series 11 through 16 this whole week on the fundamentals or the foundations of life insurance. And so we're going to be talking today, our specific one is called The Talking Points of Life Insurance. And remember, we're brought to you by our host and our sponsor, Lincoln Benefit Life, an Allstate company. And we're using Lincoln Benefit Life software. In the weeks to come, we'll be teaching off this. So we want you to go to the Lincoln Benefit site, www.lblsales.com/ETW. When you come on this site, you'll be able to see Eclipse illustration software. We voted it as the easiest software for life insurance to be able to educate and to train. And we want you to be able to go with us page by page when we get into this. So in the weeks to come, we hope to believe that you've downloaded this software. Go to their site, www.lblsales.com/ETW, and we'll see you there so that we can do it together. It'll be great. Now I want to be able to put up some of our information that we're going to be using today. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about this. And remember, everything we show you on these basic worksheets, you can order just by saying, writing me at thebiz at brokersalliance.com, thebiz, THEBIZ at brokersalliance.com, and I'll send you this absolutely free. So we're looking at the agenda for discussion. Notice what I've done is, instead of just having the agenda and saying we're going to talk about it, I want to know, in the client's mind, what's the most important? Is this a high degree of importance and priority? Is this a medium importance and priority? Or is this a low priority? And what I've done is I'd like to walk through this with the client to say, please tell me, in your opinion, is it a high, medium, or low importance? So, getting the estate in order. I'm wondering if a person's probably in his 20s, he's just married, has children, more than likely getting his estate in order is low. Actually, maybe I should have put another column in there and said non-existent. It's just to add that on there. But look at this, probate avoidance. Maybe the same thing. For a person that's in their baby boomers and they're starting to move into retirement, maybe to avoid probate's a high priority or important to them. I always want to ask the client, what's important to you? I want to know, is death tax reduction? I'm going to pay ordinary income tax. Am I going to wind up also paying estate tax? I want to know, is that an importance? It may be for a person who's in their 60, 65 or older. Then I'm looking at care for children after death. What happens if something happens to me and I have dependent children? I want to be able to say, yes, that is a high importance. I want you to cover off that risk for me. Another one is transfer of business. Maybe I'm in partnership with somebody, or we have many partners in our business. I want to be able to know that I can transfer, when our business transfers, it'll transfer in the best possible way with the least amount of money and the most tax advantaged way. And that could be life insurance. And is that a high level of importance? Then providing significant or sufficient cash flow for my heirs, my wife, my children, my partners, who I need to make sure that if I die, what the earned income that I would have been generating all those years is able to be replaced. And then my big tactic here for that strategy would be life insurance. And then covering risk exposure. I might have risk to my mortgage. I might have risk to business. I might have debt that I have to manage. Business policy loans. I need to cover all my risks so nobody's saddled with any of the liabilities or exposure if I'm not around. And then, of course, retirement planning. Again, I'm looking at how high is this? Well, in my time, at my place in my life, retirement planning is high. My covering risk exposure is now medium because I'm getting lower on my debt. I'm almost completely out of debt except for mortgage. Transferring business. I have a business and I've already started looking at my exit strategy. So those are medium importances. Death tax reduction, that's important. I want my transfer of my estate to go to my children, my grandchildren, and the charity of my choice. You may have other targeted beneficiaries. But I just want to know what's the level of importance. Specific areas which need current review, present wills and trusts. Again, bring your team member in, that's your attorney. Insurance, the insurance programs are on there. That may include your health and disability agent. That may include your property casualty agent. You'll want to look at current investments. Am I really allocated with the risk personality that I have? Am I in the right investments? Am I in the right savings vehicles? I want to go look at fringe benefit packages. Maybe my actual boss or my employer is actually sponsoring a short and a long-term disability. Maybe they have matching 401k. I want to look at the fringe benefits. Then I want to look at gifting programs. Hey, if I'm a regular giver at my church or synagogue or mosque, I want to know, am I going to be a regular giver when I'm dead? Maybe I want to be able to give them a gift as I pass. So again, gifting program, disability income. I want to make sure that my disability income pays for all my bills and obligations that I paid for. And of course, long-term care. If I'm going to have a long-term care need, and it sounds like we're going to be living longer, so long-term care is going to play into this, and we have to figure out a way to cover that. Then I want to look at some of the business owner needs. Now we talked that was more domestic. Here's business. I want to know, is there a succession plan out there right now? The four basic ones that are in the United States that are used most are buy-sell agreements, cross-purchase agreements, stock redemption agreements, and this really cool one that I like called wait-and-see trust. I want to know, is there a way to transfer the business? Is there a succession plan already online? Is there an exit strategy for one partner over another, especially when you have age differences? Another one is key employee planning. You may have a rainmaker that works for the business, a person that's very, very important to the firm. He brings in revenue. When you look at key employee, it could be an admin person. Your office would never run if that person wasn't there. And if you're sitting there saying, wow, my gal takes care of administration work, if she wasn't around, you need to be able to plan, hey, what would happen if she wasn't there? And then executive benefit planning. This is huge if you're trying to recruit top people because they're going to start looking at some of the benefits that you're going to be able to give, and one of those can be life insurance. I also want to look at the estate concerns. Sometimes my estate is dominantly, the greatest portion of it is my business itself. So I want to be able to say, wow, my business takes up so much of my estate. I need to now integrate my business planning with my estate planning, and then in between that, believe it or not, I might have to talk about my retirement planning. And then some of the survivorship needs and charitable needs are going to come to that from my business. I may have a lot of money coming to me, and maybe I don't need that all, and I'd like to see my business go forward, or I want to skip a generation, not only give money to my children, but skip a generation and give some of that business to my grandkids, perpetuate some of that, or the proceeds from the sale of that, or the proceeds from business succession planning. My retirement concerns, planning my retirement. I want to make sure that that's all out there and that I've protected it and I've insured it. And I can do that in a variety of ways. Again, there's so many really cool things in here, and that's why I talk about different formats, different things I want to go through. Here's one that I hate to bring up, but it's just a big one. It's the divorce checklist, believe it or not. And I want to know, I need to have legal and professional guidance. I need to know, hey, if I'm getting married, and especially if it's number 2 or 3, third time, and you have any kind of assets, you may want to look at a prenuptial agreement. A prenuptial agreement is going to have major impact on divorce later on. You may want to agree to the divisions of assets, how things are going to be separated, talk about the actual issues of children, get that all on the table in a prenuptial agreement. You might want to find out, am I going to have an annulment or is it divorce? There's special cases here that talk about this. And then what about the income tax issues? Who's going to pay what? Is the divorce going to be separated? Do I own my wife's insurance? Does she own mine in a cross purchase? Is it going to matter if I'm in a community property state or not? All these things need to be figured in on my divorce checklist. And I also want to know, if I'm going to be able to have a divorce, is it going to be a meaningful or amiable divorce where I don't have a conflict, or am I going to run into where I have to actually ask for a restraining order? Wow. So hopefully your divorce isn't that dirty and messy where you have to get that. But if you did, that'd be one of the checklists that I'd look at, a restraining order. Then children. Who's going to have custody? This is probably the biggest thing. After, assets are nothing. Your children's health and their welfare growing up is everything. Who will take care of the children? Will they have joint custody? Will they live with one parent over the other? All those things are things that you want to go through it. Visitation rights are part of that. You want to make sure that you've mapped this out, talked about it, so that everything's in writing and that you already have a game plan in case things go south in your relationship. Another thing, children's rights. Hey, children have rights, and they may want to be able to, you have your idea, you may want to start thinking, hey, if they become of age, we're going to give them the right to make their selection on who they want to stay with and so forth and so on. All these things, they may even want to be a ward of the state for all I know. But remember, you want to map these out. These are things that we have to talk about on what I call the divorce checklist. And then another thing is income tax exemption. Who will claim the income tax for the children? Right now, I think the exemption is like what, $3,600 or something like that. I don't know if that's the exact number, but you'll want to know who's going to get that. There's one person over, and that's a trade-off. That's somebody's going to save taxes because of that. So that's a big one to think about. And then college funding. Who's going to be responsible? Are we both going to be responsible for college funding for our children? It's a really major issue to think about. And then when you look at the division of wealth, it's going to be based on earned income, real estate holdings, checking and savings accounts, stocks and bonds, retirement accounts, the life insurance, personal belongings, large personal property items, hidden assets. Believe it or not, some spouses hide accounts from their other spouse. You'll want full disclosure and an investigation and a discovery during the divorce to find out all about that. And then going on, you have debt obligations that are singular, but heads up, your spouse might have opened up debt that you're not aware of. In certain states, you may be fully obligated to what that your spouse rang up the bill for, so be careful about that. And then moving forward, establishing separate lives. You're going to have to do a cash flow analysis. Now that I don't have two incomes, I'm down to one. You may have to sit there and say, oh, I now have to add to my budget alimony and child support. Where am I going to live? I'm going to have separate finances. I'm going to have to close all our joint accounts and open up separate accounts, and that includes my charge cards. So these are all things on the divorce checklist that I'm always looking for just to make sure. And lastly, this is pretty important, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but I really want to make sure that when I'm doing an investigation and I'm looking into my client's finances, many times I need to pore over this, not at the client's home. So I'm going to go and ask them for, could I see your will? Can I see your irrevocable life insurance trust? Can I see your retirement plans? They may want very free to give me all these documents. But my concern is we need to map out and have a receipt for all documents as you take, including, by the way, if you're going to look at policy, you want to be able to say the following documents were received on this day in this year, and have the reviewer's signature, that would be you, the agent, and you're going to sign it and date it, and you're going to say, here's what I received. I received these documents on this day. Why is it important to look at the will? Because I want to see the disposition of property. What is the intent of the grantors, the people that I'm talking to about life insurance? I want to look at that. I want to see any trust arrangements. And remember, because I'm already partnering with a planning team, I already have somebody on my team that's an attorney that can look at this. This is all legal documentation. So I definitely want to have somebody on my team, in my case, it's my study group, and they're going to look at the trust arrangements. And of course, they're going to charge for this, so I need to look at this, but I need to collect it. And I want to be able to collect all these documents so that I can always remain the quarterback of my client's concerns. I want to head the team. I want to be the liaison back to my attorneys and so forth. So I'm looking at this list. I want to see any business arrangements that you may have. Maybe you have outstanding debt with your partner. Maybe you have a business that you're going to sell. I need to see all those. Your business arrangements, your insurance and annuity contracts, signed by the company, and then we will do a full policy review, whether it's annuities or life insurance, so that we can find out, hey, what's out there? And then mutual funds, brokerage, 401k accounts. I want to see all those statements and any other statement that are listed by companies so that we can collect it, have the client look through all their documents, collect it, have them sign a receipt, and hand it back to them. This is just good stewardship of documentation of your client, and that's one of the talking points we use for life insurance.
This has been an EduTrainment Workshop, the educational division of the National Insurance Clearinghouse, the marketing arm of Brokers Alliance, and sponsored by Lincoln Benefit Life. an Allstate company.